Today we're doing everybody's favorite series, Commander Countdown, which isn't really a series.
This time, top 15 lands in Commander.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, here again with another YouTube video. You can go to our Discord link in the description to join our Discord community and play some Commander games and hang out with us in voice chat. Or you can support us on Patreon for actual dollars, and we'll be eternally grateful.
And actually, I want to add one more thing to the shoutouts in the beginning here. Subscribe to the channel for daily content.
True, we are making daily videos as of the last 20 days with YouTube Shorts. What are we doing?
Today, we're going over the top 15 lands in all of Commander. So we need to get a disclaimer out of the way right away. We're not doing cycles, which means you're not going to see the fetch lands on here, which we think are probably the best lands in all of VDH. But they're not on here because Scolding Tarn is not the best land in EDH. All 10 of them put together and combined into one thing makes them the best. But if we take one individual one, I don't think it's actually better than any specific card here.
Yeah, and when you group up 10 cards and then try to rank them in conjunction with one card, well, yeah, they're going to be better. But so basically we have cut these cycles because while being the best lands in Commander, they are not the best land in Commander. So these are all single lands, and we're going to rank the 15 best ones. There's one honorable mention, and we kind of put it under like CDH, but it's not even really that good there. It's Bazaar of Baghdad, taps to draw 2 and discard 3. This is like hyper focused if you need it for your like crazy combo deck that wants to discard cards, doesn't care at all about its hand size. It's really good.
Also, I would believe this card is also busted and completely insane. I've never seen it. It's hard, even if this card is if it's like number 2.
It doesn't see much CDH play or anything. It's like a hyper-specific card, and then obviously it's insane in those decks.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's one of those cards where it's like, maybe it's better than I think. I'm never going to see it.
Pretty sure we've correctly ranked it.
No, okay. Yeah. Oh, we are objectively 100% correct in all situations.
I don't think anyone would have an issue with this. Anyone who's played this card or seen it, let me know after watching this whole video. I don't think we misplaced it. It's like right around 16.
And like we said, you will not see fetch lands, the Arbor Duels. You won't see basics on here or crowd lands because they're cycles, and I don't think any of these individually by themselves, like I think basic lands are very good. I don't think Forest is ever going to make this list.
Right. Do you want to see a list with Forest, Plains, Mountain, Island, and Swamp?
I don't think so.
No. So let's get into the number 15. After all that preamble, number 15 is Mystic Sanctuary. It enters untapped if you have 3 or more other islands, and then when it enters, if you meet that criteria, put an instant or sorcery from your graveyard on top of your library.
So this card is actually part of Infinite Combos. I think it's the only one that's really going to be they're really going to be part of Infinite Combos on here.
Oh, the only land?
You don't really go infinite with your lands. You do a lot of strong things. You produce a lot of mana. But Mystic Sanctuary can actually go infinite with a bounce land and some other stuff. Maybe just a double trigger.
Yep. I mean, it's part of like critical mass combos and stuff, but the main thing is it's an island. So that you can fetch it with all those fetch lands that are the best lands in Commander and get it. And now it's your best spell that goes right on top. All you got to do is draw a card, and you just, like, it's a tutor almost. It feels like that kind of effect.
Yeah, your best spell, whatever you've cast this game, you get to put on top and do it again. Again, if you do this with a Time Warp, you can just go infinite. Like, it's not that hard. Yarok is your commander. Or is it Yarok that bounces doubles ETBs?
Mm-hmm.
So Yarok, bounce land, and like an extra land drop or 2.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to...
Oh, wow.
And this is a weird effect. Not many cards even do this effect where they say, hey, take something from your graveyard and put it on top of your library. This is free, fetchable, enters untapped. The build around requirement is you got to be heavy blue or at least heavy islands.
Yes, heavy islands. Yeah, you got to make sure you have a ton of islands. Other than that, this card's just going to be very strong. The downside is obviously early game, it's not very good and enters tapped. Tapped island is awful.
Yes, it is banned in multiple formats though.
Yes, for a good reason.
What's number 14?
Number 14 is Cavern of Souls. As Cavern of Souls enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Tap, add Wingding. Tap, add mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. So mostly, this is just going to make your commander uncounterable. But it does have the fringe of being like insane in any deck that is tribal.
Yeah, your best spell each turn just can't be countered. And not to mention, it's a rainbow land if you're heavy creatures. If you're all warriors, this is like you could be Mardu warriors and not worry about colors with this.
Yes, but I think the reason this sneaks into 14 isn't because of its tribal applications, but rather because of its applications of making your commander uncounterable. Because usually when you build a commander deck, you build it with the commander in mind, making him a viable part of your deck. And not being able to be countered is huge.
Especially when, if people are kind of tapped out, you're like, well, if they don't counter it, then I'm good to go. I get to, equip my Greaves to it or activate its whatever ability. Cavern of Souls is just a free way to have your spells not be countered. There's like nothing like it. The only other comparison is like Besage You, but I think that hits spells and it's not the same and enters tapped, and it's way different than Cavern of Souls. Cavern of Souls is crazy.
Yeah, Cavern of Souls is great. It produces Wingding, so it is a colorless land most of the time, well, except for in tribal decks. But in the situation, it's fine. It's still going to produce mana. It's not going to sit there and do absolutely nothing.
Super good. Number 13 is one of my favorite Magic cards of all time. It is Field of the Dead. Enters tapped, produces colorless, and whenever it or another land enters the battlefield, if you have 7 lands with different names, congratulations, because you get a 2/2 black zombie token that doesn't even enter tapped. It's just untapped, ready to go.
Yes. So Field of the Dead is a build around restriction, at least a bit. You have to build your deck to make sure it has a ton of different names and lands. If you're playing like 25 forests in your deck, you're not playing Field of the Dead because you're never going to trigger it.
Yeah, you need to be, once you're multiple colors, 2 to 3, I think you can very easily include the snow basics to just add a free type when Field of Dead's in your deck. Let's say you're 2 colors, you add 2 free. So you have Mountain Forest, Snow Mountain, Snow Forest, Field of the Dead. You're already 5 out of 7, and you've played 2 other lands.
Yeah, exactly. It's very easy to just get these zombies. It's incremental, small value, but it's on a land, and it happens over and over again. Something I really like about this card is it's so easy to rebuild a board state from this card. You just play a land, and all of a sudden you're back on board already.
Yep, you're back on board. You play a fetch land, you play a ramp spell, you just have like 6 power. Here's the cost of this card. The cost of the card while deck building is just check your lands, make sure you can support it. You probably can. The cost gameplay, tap land. No mana ever invested. Yeah, just a tap land.
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways is if you're having trouble with your mana base, just put this in a spell slot and you'll be fine, because you'll just go, okay, this is a spell that takes up my land drop for a turn.
Yes, and it will not disappoint you. Field of the Dead is super, super good. Also banned in multiple formats.
Yes, banned in multiple formats because it's insane.
Although this is Commander.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to, all these cards are so strong on this list. I mean, lots of them are banned.
I was going to say, a lot of them have a big rap sheet.
Yeah. Coming up next, we have the Tabernacle at Pendervale. It's a legendary land. All creatures have, at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy this creature unless you pay 1. All creatures. So your opponent's creatures and your creatures, but you're playing this card, you don't have many creatures in your deck.
Talk about a land that takes up a spell slot. You may notice we didn't read the text, tap, add mana. This doesn't add mana. It just comes down. It's basically a 0 mana enchantment that can't be countered and says you can't play a land this turn. And it's just a ton of investment for everyone else. And you go, I'm playing little to no creatures. I barely care at all.
Yeah, this card is completely insane.
Completely insane. There it is. Also thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's like $5,000. This card is stupidly overpriced. It's a strange one, though, and I think it's interesting because somebody mentioned earlier, it's great in like your lower power creature-based metas, and that gets worse and worse as you go up in power where there's less and less creatures. But it's still so like, who's buying this card? Who's buying this $5,000 card?
That gets worse as games require less creatures. I don't know. I mean, it's for like Legacy, and it's on the reserve list, and other stuff. I mean, maybe not Legacy, some other format, Mid-Vintage or something.
I also think this card is super unfun. So if you take this card and you put it in the deck where it's in a meta where it's going to be good, people are going to hate you, because the meta is where it's good. They're aiming for fun usually.
Well, I mean, it's not the most fun. There is the Mages of the Tabernacle. It's like a 4-mana 2/6 with the same text. Maybe that's the fair version.
Yeah, I mean, that dies to everything and gives itself the ability.
On to number 11, Strip Mine. It taps for colorless, enters untapped, and says sacrifice it, destroy target land. This is the anti-land. It will trade 1 for 1 with any land, and it basically asks nothing of you, but it costs a colorless.
Yes, this is a completely fair card, and actually, you're just here to use this to destroy all the lands on this list. Seriously, that's what it's here for. You take it, and you go, okay, I will kill your Field of the Dead, your Cavern of Souls, your Mystic Sanctuary that you're comboing off with, so I can stop that now.
Yeah, it's at speed. It really is just going to be great. The only thing is, in Commander, can't really do this proactively as much as you can in 1v1, where you can just strip mine their land on turn 1. This is like, okay, wait for your moment, find the best land, stop them from getting crazy advantage.
It does have utility, though, to be proactive in the situations of extra land drops and, like, Crucible Worlds.
Oh, yeah. Then you're going to... I mean, if I'm strip mining 3 times, now we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. Just go... And usually just hit the same player 3 times to, like, really put them behind in the game.
This is another land that can win games as part of, like, a combo.
Yeah, I did that. I actually did that the other... I knocked out one player, and then I strip mined another player down. Like, to nothing.
You said, like, okay, well, I'll kill this player, and then with all my extra land drops... destroy all your lands.
Yeah, and then there was one other player who was basically... We had knocked him out of the game, essentially.
They were in 3rd place before the other 2 died.
They were running a little slow.
Yeah, Strip Mine's amazing. Very, very unbalanced land. Like, they shouldn't have ever printed it. It was a design mistake. We'll take full advantage of it.
Yep. I mean, if you're... A random thing here is... Wasteland, not quite on here, just didn't quite make it, but it's about as powerful as Strip Mine. In 95% of situations, it's the same card.
Yeah, and then there's spots where they play Utopia Sprawl on their forest, and you just go, sorry, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. The strip mines, that extra 5% is huge, especially in a list when we're talking about the very best. Number 10 is Sanctum. It's a legendary land. It taps to add white equal to the number of enchantments you control. As soon as you control 2 enchantments, this taps for 2 mana, and it's one of the best lands in Commander.
There are no lands that just produce 2 mana with no cost, right? So as soon as a land you control is doing that, you have one of the best lands that's ever existed. If that land existed, it would be the best, but we just had to build around it a little bit. So the reason it's not number 1 is you got to put a bunch of enchantments in your deck.
Yeah, it has a huge seal. It has a very high ceiling where you can go off and make like 10 mana in a turn pretty easily in the right decks, but it also has a low floor of it doesn't produce any mana, and it's a huge deck building restriction.
Yeah, if it's only going to produce 1 mana in your deck, that's really not going to do anything for you. It's a hard to turn on planes.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to make sure you have probably a number between 25 and 40 enchantments in your deck.
And like cheap ones that aren't going to draw hate too. Things that just kind of come down. Maybe they cycle. They don't really do anything. They're not hurting anybody. You know, your Utopia Sprawl is like a great example.
Yeah, exactly. Your Utopia Sprawl, your, I don't know.
Wild Growth.
Blind Obedience since around for a while.
Blind Obedience. Maybe even Rest in Peace.
Yeah, those kind of cards that you want to just get out there, have on the battlefield, and then tap for like 5 mana with your Sanctum and be like, ha, 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 idiots, it's so powerful.
And the thing about all 15 of these lands is that once you have it in your deck gets stronger because now there's a bunch of free ways to tutor for it. There's Sylvan Scrying, there's Expedition Map, there's Crop Rotation, there's infinite ways, especially in green, to find all of these no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Which means if you get these out sooner, quicker, faster, you just get to take advantage of them. And almost all these lands, not all of them, but they can contribute to the game highly.
Yeah, if you're adding 6 mana when a Plains would add 1, I'd like to say your win percentage goes up.
At least by 1%?
Yes, exactly, 1%.
What's the next one?
Number 9 is a card I don't like at all. Cabal Coffers. Enters untap, has the ability to tap, add black for each swamp you control. That's the only way to make mana with it, so if you don't have 2 or 3 swamps, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you need to have 3 swamps to break even with this.
Yeah.
But if you do, it starts going crazy very, very fast.
Well, you need 4 to actually have this be the produce 2 mana powerhouse we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that happens quickly. I mean, you put the card Urborg, Tomb of Yogmoth, which makes all your land swamps, into any deck with this. So now all your non-basics that weren't swamps before are swamps now. And you just easily ramp this thing up. It takes off so fast. If you haven't played against one of these, it doesn't seem like it's going to do too much. And then someone goes, tap my Cabal Coffers, make 8 mana. And they're like, oh, 8 mana? Dang.
This is one of the cards I'm the most sick of in the format. Like, I think the format's better without it. But that's just a testament to how actually strong it is. It's so strong, it warped the entire mono black color around it to the point that you can't play an interesting mana base because you just should build around Cabal Coffers and tutor for it. Like, that's a really good Magic card.
Yeah, I mean, not only should you should be tutoring for it, yeah, like you said, you should be playing, like, the good thing about black is there's tons of good tutors you already get to play, but you should probably throw in an Expedition Map too, because you want this every single game because the advantage it provides to you is so high.
It's just, everyone says black is like the big mana strategy. No, it isn't. Black has Cabal Coffers in it. It's not like this big mana thing. There's like 5 cards in Magic that say make a couple extra black mana. And then there's this, which everyone throws in their black deck and then says that black is about X spells.
It's this, And then there's
Dark Ritual.
Cryptghast and
Yeah, there's a couple Swamp Dwellers, but those aren't anything new or exciting or
the
even
kind
that
of
good.
Revenant. And then the rest are all artifacts, like the Gauntlets of Power and stuff like
Just
that.
cards you could play anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't think black is it's only that because of Cabal Coffer's power.
Yes.
Next is Nykthos. Shrine to Nyx is a legendary land. It can tap for a Wingding, or you pay 2, tap, choose a color, add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. You look at all the permanents you control, you count the color of, let's say, green pips, and you make that many green pips.
A lot of comparisons can be drawn from Nykthos to Cabal Coffers. Nykthos makes mana on its own. Cabal Coffers does nothing to help you first 5 turns of the game. And then Nykthos, the cost is pretty low. It just says play stuff. Your deck, whether you try or not, unless it's a colorless deck, you have permanents that have a mana cost.
Yep. So you just put them on the battlefield and you do your thing. This thrives in 1 and 2 color decks a lot more than any other decks, because once you start, if you have a bunch of white pips, a bunch of black pips, and a bunch of green pips, like, well, which one is better? I can make 3 of each, but
yeah,
but in a mono green deck, it'd be like, oh, I can make 9.
Yeah, I'll just make 9 for 3. Pretty good investment. Nykthos is easier to play than Cabal Coffers, and it goes in way more decks.
Yeah, like not even close. Like Cabal Coffers is pretty much a mono black staple, and like some decks that can tutor it up in 2 colors maybe. Nykthos, one color doesn't matter what the color is. It doesn't have to be black now.
Even in black, though, still a staple. It's like the next best land after Cabal Coffers.
Yeah, it's still completely and utterly stupid because you're looking to get devotion because you probably have a Gary in your deck.
Don't even bring up Gary right now. We'll bring up number 7, though, which is Ferexian Tower. Another legendary land, produces Wingding, or you can tap it and sacrifice a creature to add black. We talked about adding 2 mana with no downside is insane, or even completely insane. So if your deck wants to sacrifice creatures, this is one of the best lands in your deck.
Yes, because it becomes a sack outlet on top of being a land that can produce an extra mana. There's only like one other card that you really get that from. It's High Market.
Right.
But this one also, on top of just giving you the stack, which High Market gives you with 1 life, which is nothing, it gives you an extra mana. So it's even better than that. So you just tap, you sack what you wanted to do. Like you don't put this in the deck where you don't want to sack creatures, because that's terrible.
Don't do that.
Yeah, you sack, you add the extra mana, and you go, oh, and I get this death trigger. Oh, and this death trigger. And I'll probably be able to get that back later with my living death.
Yeah, and then this triggers this, and now I have 2 mana to spend on all the stuff that I just triggered.
Wait,
because this is a land.
Hold on, yeah, what did you use? Used your land to do all that.
Yeah, this card is so much better than, I think even better than it looks. I've played it in a deck that has a couple tokens here and there. It's still ridiculous. Oh man, didn't quite draw enough creatures this game. All right, I'll just play a land that taps for 1 mana and enters untapped.
Yeah, these lands that produce extra mana, they put you a turn ahead. That's how you should look at it. When you can produce 1 extra mana, that's 1 extra turn ahead. That's why all of these 2 mana ramp spells are so good. They take you from turn 2 to 4.
This can too, but it's a land drop. These cards are great. This one also very good. Number 6. What is it?
It's Mishras Workshop. For the low price of only $4,500, you can have Mishras Workshop, which is a land, enters the battlefield untapped, tap, add Wingding, spend this mana only to cast artifact spells. Now, this is a little crazy to think about. This only casts artifacts, only fits in such a small percentage of decks. It's still number 6 here because of what it's providing.
We said 2 was already far and away better than 95% of lands that exist. This adds 3. Cast artifact spells, have an artifact commander, have a heavy artifact theme, and you just get this unfair land that lets you cast 3 drops on turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, it completely bumps you ahead and out of the game. Like, you can just take off like this and a Mana Crypt, which are obviously those are 2 of the best cards in the format.
Yeah.
But you play that in a Mana Crypt, all of a sudden, oh, I'm playing 5 drops on turn 1.
Yeah, I can just play some crazy 5 mana artifact. Just for fun, let's say I can play my Paradox Engine on turn 1.
What's I don't even know. What's the best 5 mana artifact you can think of off the top of your head?
It was that, but it's banned.
Yeah, that's fair.
But doesn't matter what the best 5 mana artifact is. It matters that tap this 3 times, you just got 9 mana from a land over 3 turns. What is that? All you had to do is build around it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's $4,500. This isn't a budget list. Was that not obvious when we said the 15 best? I hope so. I hope it was obvious.
Yes, this is absolutely 0% budget. We're not even taking into consideration. This card it runs away with games. It'll completely warp the game around it right away. If someone plays this on turn 1, you're gonna be like, oh crap, they're so far ahead. Like Soul Ring already is like, oh my god, they're so far ahead. Now it's like, what if I just played my land drop and you went, oh my god, I can't win.
Soul Ring puts you up 1 mana. This puts you up 2 mana, assuming you would have played another land.
Now the downside to this card is when you play it on turn 1 and you pass, people are going to strip mine you.
And that was your fault for playing Mishras Workshop and then not playing anything.
Yeah, I mean, the card it's so good. Like, I just want to stress it one more time. This has the biggest build on restriction of any card on this list. And it's number 6. And number 6 means, other than the 5 lands we're going to list, there's not a land better than it.
You're not going to get any better. And number 5, actually, I think people might not have seen coming, but it's Urborg, Tomb of Yogmoth. This is a land that says all lands are swamps in addition to their other types. It's legendary, and it might not look like it taps for mana, but all lands are swamps, so it taps for black, and so does every other land on the battlefield. Interesting. We know that it works with Cabal coffers. That's just the complete obvious wombo combo synergy. Now you can throw Cabal coffers in a 3-color deck, but only because of this. What else does it do?
It's perfect. It's perfect fixing, essentially. Say you're playing a Mardu deck, okay? If you have this out, every time you do a fetch or anything like that, you can just go get your white red lands, your Sacred Foundry, and all those kind of lands. Now you're like, oh, because those are tri-lands now, and that's just perfect for you.
There's Swamp Walk synergy. Some of your creatures might be unblockable. Effects that care about swamps on the battlefield or yours, and some of the other cards that we're going to mention after this, and things like Mishra's Workshop, Ferexian Tower, Nykthos, Sanctum, they now tap for black. All of these high-cost lands that sometimes don't do that much or make colorless, they just tap for black now.
Yeah, it turns any utility land that you were playing in your deck into a swamp, which is obviously going to be helpful for you because you're not going to play this outside of a black deck. Not usually. I've seen it once or twice.
Yeah, that is a bonus. You actually can play this outside of black. It does not have any color identifiers that would make it black.
Yeah, in your Ellis Join decks, you can play this with what?
Cormus Spell, Krampus Spell, Kringus Spell.
Yeah, Krampus.
Something.
It's on screen. Don't worry.
Cormus Spell?
I think it's called Krampus Spell.
Temple Bell.
Yeah, Temple Bell.
It's Temple Bell.
Temple Bell. That's what we were thinking of. You can play it with Temple Bell.
Right. How about number 4, though?
Number 4 is Ancient Tomb. Tap to add 2 Wingdings to your mana pool. Ancient Tomb deals 2 damage to you. This fits in like any deck. Any deck. If you have an extra Ancient Tomb, just throw it in whatever deck you're building. The only situations it's not that great is like your 5-color and 4-color decks, but even then, it's still producing 2 mana.
Yeah. We start at 40 life. The starting life total highly tells you how good this card is. It's already good in 20 life formats. People still played it. It's still insane because it makes 2 mana. This format, we got twice as much life, and the games are like 10, 11, 12 turns. So I will happily take 14 damage if it means I get access to 10 extra mana for 0 cost.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play Ancient Tomb in your 1-color decks, super free roll, 2-color decks, probably still free roll, 3-color decks. It's a little bit of a cost, but it's still very good.
Yeah, if you have a 3-color deck, cut a colorless land when you add Ancient Tomb. That'll help you out. It just, like, I can't tell you how many times I've played Ancient Tomb Signet on turn 1 and just been like, yeah, this game's over.
The thing that
I got this in the bag.
The thing that is so good about it is, like I've mentioned before, these lands, these soul lands as they're called, that produce 2 mana, they just put you a turn ahead of everybody else in a land slot. It's like, obviously there's spells that do this, and there's all kinds of cards that are very powerful for putting you turns ahead. But when you could just play your land into it, that's something else. That's another level.
Yeah, what really helps swing games, maybe even more subtly than people would think, is if you have 4 of these lands and nobody else plays anything but basics, your win percentage goes way up. Your lands are now doing things that spells do and that their lands can never do because they're, dual lands or tap lands or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like what you're getting on an Ancient Tomb, okay, granted it's at the cost of life, is you're getting essentially a Nature's Lore. So something like a 2-mana spell, something that you would just play. You're getting that out of your land slot, which is just, that is so incredible because what people think of in land slots is, okay, this is a plains, it makes a white mana, it's so I can cast my spells. But what if it was just more than that? That's when these start really becoming just completely insane.
Yes, don't need to articulate too much. Ancient Tomb, everyone knows, just totally nuts. So we can move on to number 3, which is actually 2 cards that are the same exact card. fight me on that. Number 3 is City of Brass and Mana Confluence. They say tap, add 1 mana of any color, you take 1 damage, or tap and pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color. These are rainbow lands. They are unconditional, and all they want is 1 life.
They are ostensibly the same, though slightly different. There are situations where these are going to be different. They're few and far between. They're not even worth really talking about here.
No.
But they are so similar to the same card that we put them in the same spot. We're not going to have 2 spots dedicated to cards that are so close.
Yeah, I mean, pick your favorite. Which one's technically better? Maybe City of Brass. It's so hard to care or tell. We know that they're at number 3. They fix your mana. One of these in your deck just makes the most possible colors. It's not even... It is dumb how perfect your mana gets when you have a lot of these.
I think the best way to look at this is any deck that's not a 1-color deck your mana base is as good as it can get. You're playing these. Even 2 colors. I mean, you're only playing 2 colors, but you want as many duels as you can get for red and green.
These are duels.
And these are dual. These are just going to be red, black, untapped dual lands.
Yeah, it's actually a little harder to state how strong these are because there's no frills or busted things on them. It's just they make any color. We have 40 life. I'll tap this 12 times and not even bat an eyelash. And then when you have stuff like Urborg, you don't even have to worry about the damage. You just go, okay, that's fine. I'll make a black mana. I think especially with Mana Confluence.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, these cards, they look so boring and so meh, but they're so much more powerful than they actually look.
Speaking of that, what's number 2?
It's actually Command Tower. It taps to add a color of mana in your commander's color identity.
It enters untapped. It asks absolutely nothing of you. It is a literal free roll in any deck that has 2 or more colors, and the only restriction of this is it can't produce colors outside your identity, which almost never matters.
So this doesn't cost you life, so that's why we gave it doesn't cost you life, so that's why we give it the upside over City of Brass and Mana Confluence. The only thing that City of Brass and Mana Confluence have over this is they can produce off colors.
Yes.
So if you need to make like a red mana in your green deck for some card that needs that, then you can. But I think that's way less on the scale than the life. I don't even think the life is super relevant, but it is more relevant than needing to produce off-color mana.
Yeah, what if, Mana Confluence deals 6 damage to you over the game, and you feel great for playing it. Command Tower deals 0 damage to you over the course of the game, and you feel great playing it.
This is the freest of free rolls. It's an auto-include. It literally just an auto-include. You could even... If you're building a 1-color mana base, I just thought of this right now, and this might actually help you.
What?
You can put it in your deck for Field of the Dead. It's just free. Why would you not?
Oh, yeah. I got to get this in my deck.
Yeah, I never thought of that until right now. This is such a... if you're playing a 1-color mana base that's playing Field of the Dead, just play Command Tower.
It's just a plains.
It's just a plains. It's
with other stuff on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a plains that will trigger your other thing.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, I mean...
My deck just got 1% better.
I did, yeah. I mean, I didn't even think about that till right now. It's so free in decks.
Can this turn you on to Field of the Dead in 1-color decks now?
No. Still can't.
I need to find like 3 more. More of these.
Find 3 more Command Towers.
To get there, yeah. Command Tower, it's kind of boring. There actually is, I think, somewhat justified calls to ban this card. I don't think the problem is bad enough to address right now, but it's the theory of like, man, there's so many auto-includes. It just makes your deck less interesting, less fun. It makes games more samey. There's a Command Tower every game. I wouldn't ban it quite yet, but I see the point.
One thing about Command Tower that I do really like about it is it's printed into the ground. I love that. I love that at least this staple that is an auto-include is like a quarter. And yes. I truly do. I really, really, really do appreciate that because I know that budget can be a big factor for a lot of players.
And they made it. It'd be really frustrating for them to go, hey, every deck needs this. We control how many of them there are. There's like 10.
Yeah.
That would be real stupid. The last one, I mean, who's questioning what number 1 is at this point, having heard the other 14? But it is Gaia's Cradle. It's a legendary land. Tap, add green for each creature you control.
Or if you have an Urborg, it produces a black.
Ooh, dual land. This is busted. It is the best land in Commander. Best single land, sure.
It requires very, very little of you. Creatures are everywhere in Commander. They're the most prominent creature type in Magic. It's just overall, or not creature type. They're the most prominent type.
Yeah.
The type that sees the most play in Magic is creature.
No deck has 0 creatures in it. Fun fact.
Yes.
Not possible.
You actually have to have 1. You obviously want to have a decent creature count in order to play this card. But as soon as you meet the requirement of like having 20 creatures. That's it. Like, I don't even think you need a crazy amount.
Yeah, you don't need many.
This is going to tap for 1 mana, like, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
The Gaia's Cradle is a card that I actually do think should be banned in this format. I think that we've mentioned before that I think the main problem with and why this card isn't banned is because no one sees it.
Yeah, it's just not out there enough. But they banned Tolarian Academy. I don't know why this wasn't just thrown up there with it. It's a little, I think it's worse than Tolarian Academy.
It's worse than Tolarian Academy, but that doesn't mean it's not completely bonkers.
I think it's too good for the format, but it is insane. I think it's like $1,000 right now. And I was lucky / fortunate enough to buy one when it was like, I don't know, like 200 or 300 or something. And I've played it plenty of times. It feels like you're cheating. All right. Top deck. I just get to add 6 extra mana for no investment. I guess I'll do that. And I now have Gaia's Cradle in my deck. So, we'll throw an Expedition Map, Crop Rotation, Sylvan Scrying. And now I have 7 Gaia's Cradles in my deck. And this one card is going to make every game samey, and I'm going to dominate you unless you strip mine it.
So a weird thing about Gaia's Cradle that I wanted to mention, that this is just from my perspective. We have some proxies that we use once in a while. We have like the Arbor Duels. I throw them in decks, and I don't have a problem with that. But we also have proxy of Gaia's Cradle. And for some reason, even though we own a Gaia's Cradle, I can't bring myself to put a proxy of a Gaia's Cradle. It's weird to me.
It's so impactful in every game it shows up.
Yeah, like an Arbor Duel, you don't even think twice about it. It's like...
I do. I actually just don't proxy anything, but you can...
Yeah, regardless. We play like a Taiga, and like I don't even think about it. It's like, oh, here's a Taiga, tap it. But it's like when you play Gaia's Cradle, you think about it. You go, oh, this card is bonkers. I literally have to, every time I play it, count my creatures in play to see how much of an advantage it's getting me.
Yeah, how badly am I about to bury people in card advantage and mana advantage? It just, we talked about 3. We hyped up 3 mana with no restriction. If you have artifacts, you just make 3 mana. That's so good. And this is just 5, 6, 10, 20. I don't know. How many creatures you got?
It's going to produce 1 very, very, very easily and almost never not do that because, again, you're just not going to put it in the deck that has 5 creatures. Yeah. You're going to put it in the deck that has 20 creatures. And then the ceiling is just, it's so high.
Yeah, you end step make a bunch of tokens, or you're producing creatures for free, or you have Field of the Dead, and now every time you play a land, you just get an extra mana, and it functions like a ritual where if Gaia's Cradle is one of your 7 lands, you tap all the rest of the lands to play more creatures, and Gaia's Cradle gives you even more lands.
I'm glad you said all that, because I couldn't, this is a card that's hard to stress. It's hard to stress just how amazing it is, because again, we've said it, people don't see it at all, but it is definitely 100%. I don't even think it's close. The best land in Commander. I think worth discussing right now, just because we're at number 1, is that if we had done lands bunched together, I think fetches would have been number 1 overall.
All 10. 10. The fetches combined can take, I think, change everything, because it's like, well, this is now a third of my mana base, and of course I'd rather have that than Gaia's
Cradle. It's an interesting thing. I think Commander is the only place where like this kind of conversation comes up. I think fetches are also obviously better in every other format they're in. They are better than Gaia's Cradle in the other formats, but that's because there's not a restriction on the number you can play.
It gets all foggy with like how many you can play and what's going on. Gaia's Cradle's pretty stupid, and I don't see a lot of play in Legacy.
It does. Yeah, I mean, fetches see a lot of play in every format they've ever been in. Yeah,
ever.
Those cards are completely insane.
I mean, Evolving Wilds in Pauper. Ash Barrens, he's playing that format. They're great cards in the Pauper. Just shuffle your deck for free. I mean, we talk about fetch lands all the time. They're great.
Yeah. Okay. So number 1, Gaia's Cradle. That's the end of our list.
Yeah, with a bullet.
A bullet.
Yes.
Asterisk.
With no, there's no asterisk.
I'm just being an idiot.
Bullet like an extra point.
Okay, so that is the end of our video. Special shout out to every single one of our patrons. The growing ranks are unbelievable.
The growing rates of Nerd Lamok.
Nerd Lamok.
We love you guys. You support the channel. You're poopy babies. We love you as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. I said it right this time.
You did.
There's a link in the description that'll take you to TCG Player. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, you can support us through the link by clicking on the link. You go to the link. It takes you to the site. You navigate where you want. You buy the cards you want. And then when you check out, we get money. You support local businesses. Why aren't you doing this?
No extra cost to you whatsoever. You literally go and buy the cards you were planning on buying anyway, and you say, hey, you know what? I clicked through this link because the nerds, they deserve my support for being so amazing.
Yeah, so they get a little tip on the house. Literally on the house. TCG Player is the house.
Yeah, we refer to them as the house.
Yeah, so we got a tidbit.
I guess might as well. I beat the boss rush in Howl Knight, and it was funny. So I literally like popped off when I won, and it was really loud No one was home, so no one heard me.
Yeah, he screamed at the top of his lungs, but I was actually randomly. I joined Discord and he was streaming it. I didn't hear anything
Because he was in chat, and so was a bunch of other people, and nobody heard it. I was really loud. I was surprised. Like
I was like, oh, he beat it. Is he just going like? This is what I picture you doing.
Nope. I said, beep. Yes. Like at the top of my lungs. I was pumped. I was so excited because like I've been grinding that for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, and I had to wait for Joe to come over to actually work on things because he was grinding that for a couple weeks.
Yeah, but I beat it, and it's over.
So you didn't finish the game though. You have like 1% left.
I don't know what that 1% is. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, but soon we'll be done talking about Hollow Knight.
Yes, because I will be completely done with the game, though I might do other stuff with it, but we'll see. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. Yes, real quick. I'm going to say this one thing, and then I want you to just end the video.
Okay.
When the word budget is in the title of my video, then it's a budget video.
Peace out, Tribe Scout.